Hello everyone, welcome to Veranda IAS in this series of lectures of current affairs associated with social issues. The topic of the discussion for the day is PM 2.5, particulate matter 2.5 and increased anemia risk. For the first time in the Indian history, we can say that we got a relation between increased anemia risk to the people who are for a longer period exposed to air pollution, one of the important concerns. So in this session today, we will discuss the learning objectives, which are to define anemia, to discuss the recent news regarding correlation between anemia and PM 2.5, why this topic is in news, why we are discussing here, to examine the key findings of this report, which states there is a relation between anemia and PM 2.5, and then we will analyze the population at risk, the population or the sections of the population which are at major risk or more prone to this problem. We'll explain what is PM 2.5. This is also important for your environment and ecology syllabus, and then we will list the steps taken by the government to prevent anemia. To prevent anemia, what all schemes of the government are there, what are the steps taken by the government, that we will discuss. First, we will begin with anemia. What is anemia? What do you think is anemia? Anemia is a type of medical condition. WHO defines it as a condition where there is low blood hemoglobin concentration. Lower oxygen carrying capacity of the blood is known as anemia. To be more specific with the definition, anemia is defined by the World Health Organization as a condition in which the amount of RBCs, red blood cells, or their oxygen carrying capacity is inadequate. To fulfill physiological requirements. WHO says when the amount of RBCs is decreasing, it means indirectly the oxygen carrying capacity of the blood is decreasing. That is the condition of anemia. What are the symptoms of anemia? How can we feel or how can we go for the test of the anemia? See, these are the symptoms. If you feel weak, you get tired very easily, fatigue is there. There is change in your nails. Your nails tell whether there is deficiency of RBCs or not. There are cracked lips, drowsiness, sleepiness, heartache, fragility of hair, dry skin, and then pallor. These can be the symptoms which tell us that we are anemic or not. We might have heard, you might have read in the newspapers about anemic population. Whom do you think is anemia more susceptible to? It is women and the children. We know probably it is because of the diet pattern in India which we follow. There is a culture in India that when the male members of the family generally finish their meals, then the women sit for eating. And when whatever is left over, sometimes the vegetables are less, sometimes the quantity of the food is less, the women eat that. And that is one of the reasons which we can claim is there for the anemia or a number of diseases in the women, mainly in women. Malnutrition, or we can say inadequate nutrition to women, is one of the reasons, and anemic population in India is mostly women and children. Next comes what are the reasons. In this chart you can see what are the reasons. It is unbalanced diet. Iron deficiency anemia is of multiple types, but iron deficiency anemia is very popular in India. So it can be unbalanced diet, it can be some diseases related to stomach and intestines, it can be blood loss. Then what is the treatment? Treatment is different, that is medical term. What can be the treatment or the sources of nutrition at your end? What can be the home remedies? Just to eat good food. What food? If you are a non-vegetarian, eat meat, eat eggs, eat liver, else sesame seeds, beans, berries are a rich source of the nutrition to prevent anemia. We'll discuss ahead the correlation, what does the study say, why this topic is in news. There is a correlation between PM 2.5 and increased anemia risk in recent news. What does the news article say? It is in 2021 January that IIT Delhi published research attempting to demonstrate a relationship between 2.5 exposure and the prevalence of anemia in children under the age of 5 in India. This study says that there is a relation between the exposure of 2.5, PM 2.5. What is it? It is one of the constituents of air pollution. So if a person is exposed to air pollution for a longer time, he or she is more prone to anemia, though this study was on the children under the age of 5 in India. What are the key findings of this study? This study said the prolonged exposure to PM 2.5 can result in anemia in children under the age of 5. After that, they found out around 63% of the youngsters involved in the study were determined to be anemic. It means anemia has widespread reach in our population. Around 63% of the youth, of the youngsters, are anemic. In the study, the people on which the study was done, 63% were anemic. Increased exposure to PM 2.5 lowers. How is it relatable? See, longer exposure to pollution, longer exposure to PM 2.5 means less average hemoglobin level in children. Less average hemoglobin level means less oxygen carrying capacity of the blood. That means the condition of anemia. The discovery is significant because anemia has hitherto been seen through the lens of nutritional deficit, notably iron deficiency. Why is it important? Because we have connected anemia with nutritional deficiency. That is okay, that is correct. But only nutritional deficiency is not the reason. What else is the reason? That is new reason we came to be known as air pollution or exposure to PM 2.5. What all are the groups which are at risk, which are more prone to this disease? Young children. Children below the age of 5, or we can say younger children, children of younger ages were more susceptible to anemia because they have less immunity. Then comes poverty. The poor group, children with a lower income index, showed a greater prevalence of anemia. This we can relate with their nutritional deficiency. Those people or those sections of society who are not able to afford a good nutritional diet, they are more prone to anemia, one of the important malnutrition aspects. Then comes maternal anemia, children born to anemic mothers. We know that mothers in India, we have discussed, women in India are not very much aware, mostly are not very much aware for their dietary requirements. So children born to anemic mothers are more likely to acquire anemia because malnutrition again is transferred to the newly born child. Some details about PM 2.5. PM 2.5, where have you read this before this article, this session? You might have read it in your newspapers when there is the headlines of the newspapers every year on Delhi pollution, on the pollution in the northern part of India, we can say, specifically in Delhi. Air pollution is the talk of the town every year after the month of October, November, December, when there is Diwali celebration in northern part of India. After that, PM 2.5 and a number of particulate matters and number of constituents of pollution, we might have read about these in the newspaper. So what is it? PM 2.5 are the very small, tiny particles that are 2.5 micrometers in diameter. In diameter, 2.5 micrometers, more than 100 times smaller than a human hair. Thin line of hair, more than 100 times smaller than a human hair, these particles are there and float for a prolonged length of time. What is their characteristic? They float for a longer period of time. That is why there is a smog, or we can say there is pollution persisting in Delhi for a longer time, because these particulate matter particles are there in the atmosphere for a prolonged length of time, and these are very small, but they are very large in concentration. That is why smoggy condition prevail. These particles are produced as a result of what? Fuel combustion. These are produced as a result of fuel combustion and chemical processes occurring in the environment. One of the important sources is wood burning, is the crop residue burning, fuel combustion, and then natural activities such as forest fires also add to the airborne concentration of PM 2.5. Additionally, these particles are the principal cause of smog. These particles are the principal cause of smog. One of the important topics in air pollution. Now we will discuss about some of the schemes related to defeat or to tackle the issue of anemia in India by the central government. What are the various steps? You can quote these schemes. Schemes are important in social issues. We'll be discussing about a number of schemes because these schemes are important for your mains answer. Whenever you are writing your mains answer, if you are mentioning any schemes, any data, that will fetch you more marks. So what are the steps taken by Government of India? Anemia Mukt Bharat in 2018. Anemia Mukt Bharat, Anemia Free India. In 2018, this plan was proposed as part of Intensified National Iron Plus Initiative Program, which aimed at doubling the yearly rate of decrease in anemia from 1 to 3 percentage points. Then next scheme is Weekly Iron and Folic Acid Supplementation, WIFS program. What is it? As per this program, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare addresses the high prevalence and incidence of anemia in teenage girls and boys. Weekly Iron and Folic Acid Supplementation program. Some supplementation, some intake, dietary intake is given to young boys and girls for tackling the nutritional deficiencies, for tackling the iron deficiency, which is considered as one of the important causes of anemia in India weekly. Next, Integrated Child Development Scheme, ICDS. This scheme you can quote in number of answers. Integrated Child Development Scheme, this was initiated to eradicate anemia. Next comes National Nutritional Anemia Control Program, also known as NNACP. This was initiated for same purpose, for controlling anemia in India. National Nutritional Anemia Control Program. Just remember the names of these schemes and some details so that you can increase the quality of your answer. This was all for today about anemia, about the recent news regarding correlation between anemia and PM 2.5, about the key findings of the scheme, and then the population at risk. Then we discussed what is PM 2.5 and then the steps taken by the government to prevent anemia. This was all for today's session. We will continue our discussion from here. Till then, stay tuned, keep studying. Thank you so much.